Hey guys, welcome back. BTCAR here, and we're back with our weekly recap of all things Injustice. It is March 13th, 2025, and the current challenge is Teen Titans Raven. It's a one-week repeat. Required characters are Killer Frost, Scorpion, and Hawkgirl, who are all challenge golds. Teen Titan Raven's passive is Demonic Embrace. Special attacks have a chance to drain 25% health and power. Raven receives all health and power that has been drained. She's got 1400 attack and 1200 health. She was last available February 29th, 2024, leap year. So she's got great high stats. That 25% drain of health in her passive is better than some other health drain percentages because it's a percentage of max health, not current health. Contrast that with Cassandra Cain Batgirl, who was last week's multiplayer reward, whose passive only drains 25% of current health. This means that with Teen Titans Raven's passive, you can actually knock out your opponent with the passive. There's about a 25% chance of it happening on a special 1 and a 50% chance of it happening on a special 2. And after playing with her a lot, she is tied with Rebirth Raven as our favorite out of the 4 Ravens, and maybe that's why they're both on the team that you're watching right now. Now, people often look at stats and passive and decide how good a character is based on just that. And in the case of Teen Titans Raven, it's not so obvious the parts of her that matter most. Her Special 2 is absolutely spectacular. It is probably the best if you take it in isolation from anything else that she's got. Her Special 2 has multiple hits that will track across more than one opponent, meaning you can knock one out and still have hits left over for the next one. There is a bunch of spacing in between her hits, so you don't waste as many as you do with some of the other Special 2s. And the direct damage of her Special 2 can sometimes knock out 2 opponents at full health. But even if it only gives a love tap, a little tiny shove to the second opponent, her passive kicks in after completing the Special 2. So it can steal power and drain enough health to knock out the second opponent. If her passive knocks out the opponent, it doesn't count toward power recovery with Tantu Totem. It also won't protect you from the opponent's tag-in the way that being in the middle of your Special 2 will. So the other implication of the passive not counting, though, as part of the special is that if her Special 2 doesn't do any damage, for example, Astral Harness Invulnerability, but the passive kicks in and drains the opponent's health, you still get your power back. That hit does not count as Special 2 doing damage. One other not so obvious thing is that her Special 2's first hit is ranged. That's another thing that makes it so spectacular. Some cards have a problem with Master's Death Card. The multiple hits that come on tag-in generate power, but they also shove the opponent back a bit, meaning that a special with limited range can miss if your timing is wrong. The classic example for us is Bounty Hunter Lobo, where the first hit is the highest damage, it's not ranged, and it will miss if the opponent's too far away. Wasted damage. Now, one more thing. She can also avoid Raven Prime's health swap. Despite it being a multi-hit Special 2, most of the hits will not trigger the health swap, even if Raven Prime's health drops to less than 20%. And it's been speculated that that's because during part of Teen Titans Raven's Special 2, she disappears off the screen. And, that seems like less of a big deal because not doing the health swap really only matters against Raven Prime. But it's still pretty spectacular that her Special 2 is as good as this. And it has so much synergy with her passive. Now, despite Rebirth Raven being on our team, she is not as good of a teammate as, say, Red Lantern Hal Jordan, because Teen Titans Raven is going to steal the opponent's power a lot of times, meaning that when that happens, Rebirth Raven, it's harder to manipulate it so that her tag-in steals the opponent's power. And so if you're really needing a teammate that's going to do stuff for you, so if we were to give Claw of Horse, for example, to Rebirth Raven instead, then it's definitely less effective, and Red Lantern Hal Jordan works a lot better as a guy who can just strip the gears off the Astral Harness opponent. So, other point to note is that Teen Titans Raven, when she tags in and needs some basic attacks to get to the second bar of power, her tap combo is better than her swipe combo. It's got better range. That's a little counterintuitive because swipe hits generally have a slightly longer range, but it might be that Raven's swipe hit shoves the opponent a bit, and it's enough that only the first hit makes contact. So this is week 46 since the end of the 4-year repeating challenge cycle. We are still in uncharted territory. There are still 12 more missing challenge characters that may potentially be put into the schedule. And so this is an interesting week because if you look at the packs, there is no indication that the old schedule, which we've been following for the last 24 weeks, is going to hit. Because if it was the old schedule, it should be New 52 Wonder Woman. But if you look at the packs, there's at least the possibility that it might be Wonder Woman 600 or Regime Killer Frost. Both missing challenge characters, both available in packs in the store this week. So fingers crossed, maybe that's happening. And we've got another indication that seriously something's up in the world of Injustice Mobile, because this week's multiplayer reward is Metahuman the Flash. His passive is super speed. Upon special attack or super move activation, basic attacks temporarily triple in speed with a chance to be unblockable and do critical damage. He's got 1200 attack and 1200 health. He was last available August 15th, 2024. But that's not the most interesting. The most interesting thing is that since January 2021, every single time we've had the multiplayer rewards, when Cassandra Cain Batgirl shows up, the next reward is Soul Taker Sword. And the game skipped right past it for the first time in more than 4 years. So, who's next? I mean, if the pattern holds, next week is going to be Reverse Flash. But again, something is up. After years of nothing happening, the multiplayer reward schedule just changed for no discernible reason. So, next week is going to be real interesting. So, Metahuman the Flash. Decent middle-high stats. Despite the wording on his passive, it isn't so much that he triples in speed, but that for each regular basic attack, he will hit you 3 times. The passive lasts longer the more power you use. So super speed lasts longest after a super, which lasts longer than after a special 2, and the shortest is after doing special 1. He can be fun to play if you give him power generating or power generation boosting gears and more unblockable chance, because after his passive triggers, Metahuman Flash generates power a lot faster because of all the extra hits, right? 3 times as many. And you can generate enough power before his passive runs out so that you can do another special and trigger his passive again. And Hyperspeed Plated Suit is great for this because not only does it give you a power generation boost, but it is also, for Flash, an unblockable chance. And his first 2 hits, so a lot of other characters, for every swipe, single swipe, you get a single hit. For Metahuman Flash and all the Flashes, 1 swipe gives you 2 hits. And unlike the other hits, those 2 hits, even if the opponent blocks, you still get to process the second hit. So then you get twice the chance of getting it unblockable, setting the opponent back a little bit, and then getting another chance to get another combo. The problem really is that the current meta favors specials. His passive, Metahuman Flash's passive, makes him shine as a basic damage dealer who happens to get superpowered when he does specials. One of the ways we like to play him before is on our Justice League team. Instead of using Flashpoint Batman as our basic damage dealer, we put in Metahuman Flash, and he gets power from New 52 Wonder Woman to trigger his passive, and then you can just gear him with basic damage gears to make him even better. And our most recent attempts to use him is to keep New 52 Wonder Woman on the team, charge him up, but gear him for unblockable basics, and then add Enchantress so that when he does a special to power up his passive, he has a chance to do a basic combo without worrying about being hit with a special in return, in retaliation. One big disadvantage, if we're going to compare Flashpoint Batman and Metahuman Flash directly, because that's how we're using them interchangeably on that Justice League team, is that in games where we tag Batman in first before Wonder Woman, he doesn't need anything extra to sort of power him up to make him a really great basic damage guy. Metahuman Flash, you do need to do a little bit extra work. So, in the store, we've got Character Bundle Rebirth Team. It's $24.99 Canadian dollars. That is the only currency that matters. especially in the last few months of our trade war with the US. It contains Rebirth Wally West, Rebirth Green Arrow, and 2 Gears. Not my favorite pack. Tag Team Back is around for a second week. We talked about it last week. And the Survivor pack is back, which is interesting. So there's not a lot of packs that take power credits. This one does, which is kind of cool. I saw some criticism in the Injustice Mobile subreddit about how this pack isn't worth it. And I think the argument misses the point. It's got Killer Frost, who's really good. Wonder Woman 600, who is also really great support character. And Killer Frost Regime, who is not that great, but she happens to be one of the missing challenge characters. And she hasn't come back yet. And I think the point of whether it's worth it or not is that, I mean, if you don't have enough credits, it's a great way to take advantage of Wonder Woman 600's passive, which increases power generation and attack stats for any female teammates. Killer Frost is great, and one of the arguments the person on the Injustice Mobile subreddit was making was, well, you know, both of the Killer Frosts were recently in the challenge. Again, not true, because Regime Killer Frost is still missing. Killer Frost was recently, if you can say 5 months ago was recent, but it matters less how recently they were available than when you're going to have to wait for them again. And if you don't have them, doesn't matter how recently it was, if you don't have them, you want to get them because this week's challenge requires her in one of the ladders. So it means that unless you've already got them, you know, the trying to get them in the challenge pack is a bit of a gamble. You might end up spending quite a bit more at 150,000 per pack. That's where some of the glitches come in, and we can talk about that a bit later. But I don't know that it's nearly as bad as the person on the subreddit was trying to make it. All right, what else we got in the store? Nothing else. Everything else has been around for a long time. The Survivor pack was 595,000 credits. A little bit on the pricey side, but not the worst packs. I like packs that are power credits. Everything else has been around for a long time, so we won't get into that. Phantom Zone is back for 2 weeks. Fight 62 is still broken. We got double XP for this weekend. Not sure what the occasion is. What are people celebrating? Oh, maybe St. Patrick's Day. That might be it. So last weekend's breakthrough for golds was Zod, Aquaman, and Shazam. This coming weekend is probably going to be Catwoman, Deathstroke, and Raven based on the cycle. A link in the description to his thread in this Injustice Mobile subreddit from Devlin16 that goes over the complete breakthrough cycle. As far as the current glitches go, we go into more detail every time something significant changes, which didn't happen this week. However, even if nothing changes, we still do a more detailed review once a month, the first week of every month. And most recently, that was our recap from last week, March the 6th. You can also see a video tutorial for every working glitch in our playlist, Current Working Glitches, linked in the description of this video. The main thing worth mentioning is that the challenge reset glitch has been confirmed to be working on this week's Teen Titans Raven challenge. And that's it. So this is where we like to give a big thank you to our patrons on Patreon. That's Michael Devries, Irvin Ruiz, Hoshi127, and Nora Klimek, who are supporting us on the credited level. And a big thank you to you for watching. And we'll see you next time. Hopefully next time we're going to have something real interesting. A little bit of a change. Fingers crossed. Komoda.